Fellas, it's time to take care of down there.
I guess I have let my bottom half go.
Use Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0.
Who doesn't like to get this smooth?
The only tool with the performance and
This one's the perfect gift for the friend who's been getting a little too comfortable during quarantine. Maybe your son, a father, or
Artillery shelling in the areas and settlements continued along the state border and administrative boundary also of the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea. The aggressor state also used the territory of Belarus to launch an attack. They tried to cross the state border with tanks, armored personnel, and military vehicles, and 4 ballistic missiles have been launched towards Ukraine from the territory of Belarus. According to the latest data, they also attacked some of the hospitals. That was just the information that was out from the Minister of Health. And they also made an attempt to seize the Chernobyl nuclear power station. And the fight is going right there with Ukrainian National Guard protecting the Chernobyl station from the attack. So for the first time since Chernobyl nuclear disaster, after which Ukraine has been protected together with our European and American friends and allies, all the world from another nuclear disaster, we have to defend it again from the Russian forces. Now, Ukraine has activated our right to self-defense in accordance with international law. The combat spirit of Ukrainian military is high. We are fighting, we will be fighting. We, not only our brave and motivated military, but all Ukrainians. We are protecting our home, and we will not stop. The president also speaks to all the leaders and all the leaders of the free world, and we call for everyone to form the anti-Putin coalition to stop Mr. Putin and stop this attack on Ukraine. We're very thankful to President Biden for the immediate statement, which came minutes after Putin's decision to go on this offensive. And we're also thankful to all other allies, to the European allies, to Great Britain, to President Macron, to Prime Minister Johnson, who issued statements in support of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Ukraine already has severed diplomatic relations with Russia. We call on all of our friends and allies to do the same. We also call on international organizations to consider excluding Russia from membership for flagrant violations of international law. Now, we value all the support. We hear all the support. It's very important for us, but it's also time to act. And we call on international community to act immediately. Only our united steps can stop Vladimir Putin and Russian Federation from this attack on Ukraine, from this war, but also from attacking anyone else in the free world. So our partners should immediately enact a package of new sanctions, and we really hope these devastating sanctions will be appropriate for this moment, and Russia will clearly feel that they cannot wage war on an independent sovereign country, because the future of the world order depends on this. So what we ask all of our partners and friends to do now, first, massive sanctions for what Russia did to us in 2014, did to us for the past 8 years, and does now as they waged a full-scale war against Ukraine. Second, all the help our friends and allies can provide us with regard to the defensive capabilities. Our military and every Ukrainian is ready to defend our country. We need help in order to be able to defend our country. And third, humanitarian assistance, because the damages that Russia is inflicting on Ukraine right now are large. And of course, the day-to-day life of ordinary people is at risk and is disrupted greatly. Now, I would want to finish my statement on saying that just before I came here, we got information from our chief commander that one of the platoons of the 74th Motorized Brigade from Kemerovska Oblast surrendered. Also noting that they didn't know that they were brought to Ukraine to kill Ukrainians, that they thought they were doing something else there. Again, Ukraine is defending our home. We will defend our home, and it's time for all free and democratic nations who value the principles and the territorial integrity and the right of any country for peace to stand together with us, but not only stand together with us, act together with us to stop the war in Europe. Thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer questions. We know that it's, again, Ukraine for since 2008 announced our clear goal to be part of the European and Euro-Atlantic security system. We are extended opportunity partner with NATO, but we are not part of any of the alliances. So we do not expect anyone to fight for us, but we expect all the help and all the response the West can send to us. At the same time, we are also requesting and would appreciate the peacekeeping operations from the peacekeeping-loving countries, the peace-loving countries, and any support that we can get.
Ambassador, Josh Dutton with NBC News. Could you elaborate on what you just said? Did you say that a Russian platoon has now surrendered to the Ukrainian military because they were under the impression they weren't going to be fighting Ukrainians? Are those Russian troops now being detained by Ukrainian military? Are they prisoners of war?
That's the information that we have received from, and it's official announcement from the our commander, chief commander of the armed forces, that yes, they have surrendered.
Do you know how many?
And platoon. So I don't know the exact number, but you know.
Olivia Gazis with CBS News. Intelligence indicates that the Russians have lists. They have to decapitate the Ukrainian government, and then they have lists of targeted individuals that they could assassinate or send to camps. First, is President Zelensky going to stay in Kyiv at this moment? And second, what is the government doing to protect those people that they know the Russians have identified as targets?
Well, if you listen to President Putin's so-called speech before he announced war on Ukraine, and his speech when he recognized so-called DPR and LPR, it's clear to us that, again, it's not about Donetsk or Lugansk. It's not about some of us. It's essentially a declaration that we do not have right to exist. Now, we have existed long before Russia. We exist now, and we definitely will fight for our home. So all the planning and all the preparations are in place in Kyiv. Everyone is in Ukraine. All government, president, and others operate fully together with the diplomatic forces and our armed forces, and we all support them. Now, you know that yesterday, our president announced the martial law, and the parliament supported it. So now all the focus of everything that we are doing in Ukraine is to defend our country.
Madam Ambassador, Jennifer Hansen with CNN. Have you been briefed on who the U.S. will sanction and what the U.S. will sanction later today? And do you feel that will be enough to punish Russia for what they've done so far?
We expect the announcements soon from the U.S., but from all other friends and allies. We believe it has to be everything. We believe all financial institutions should be sanctioned. We believe Russia should be discontinued from SWIFT. We believe Russia should be discontinued from anything that democratic countries allowed them to be part of. We believe that the diplomatic ties should be severed with Russia. We believe that it's the moment when it's not okay for anyone who values peace to continue business as usual with Russia.
What if the U.S. doesn't go that far today? What is your message to the president if he doesn't take those actions?
Well, we are positive, given our strategic friendship and relations with the United States and the level of support that U.S. is with us in this fight.
Ambassador, Dmitry Sotosov, the Financial Times. Boris Johnson right now at the G7 is urging his colleagues to cut Russia off from SWIFT. Has the Biden administration given you any indication that they're really willing to go that far? And secondly, could you give us an update on what is the military situation around Kyiv at the moment in terms of how close the Russians are, what they're doing, and how far into the city they may be getting?
On the first question, again, we're talking to all of our friends and allies, and especially with the United States on the sanctions, and we're in close consultations, and we are looking forward to the announcement, which hopefully will be soon, and that the sanctions will be devastating. And now, yes, we believe and we strongly ask everyone to support the discontinuation of SWIFT, disconnecting Russia from SWIFT. On the second question on Kiev, there is a public information from the chief commander that there has been attacks around Kiev. I mean, Kiev is fully in control. But yes, we do have, and we have also captured some of the, and two, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as of now, helicopters has been shot, the Russian helicopters just outside of Kiev. There is an ongoing fight in Hostomel airport. This is a civilian airport, by the way, that has been attacked also by Russians. But so the situation is very tense. The attack is ongoing in many areas, and we need all the support, all the additional support we can get from our friends and allies, especially with the defensive anti-air supplies.
Mr. Ryan from the Washington Post, are you aware of any new or specific plans by Russia to cripple or decapitate the Ukrainian government, and what is the Ukrainian government doing in order to ensure it can continue governing the country?
Well, I can tell you about our plans. We intend to protect our country. We intend to continue fighting, and we intend to protect all the branches of power that we need to be operational in order to effectively defend our country. So I cannot tell you what is in Mr. Putin's mind, because I think until yesterday, even though we knew that there were preparations, and even though this escalation started in April 2021, I don't think any normal person would believe that something like this, to this magnitude, will actually be carried out in the 21st century against independent country. So I don't know what the plans are, but I want to assure you that whatever those plans are, we will resist, and we will fight, and we will defend our country. Yes.
You talked about the humanitarian assistance that you are asking for right now. Could you speak to the humanitarian crisis that may ensue? Are you telling Ukrainians that they should stay in the country right now, that women and children who are pictured in subway stations seeking shelter from bombs and explosions, should people stay in Ukraine, or should they leave and go into other nearby countries in Europe right now?
We're doing everything that we can under these circumstances to defend our people. We ask people to be prepared, to stay calm, and we ask people to take shelter and act according to all the rules that have been in place in Kiev, so in Ukraine. Again, as we do not know what is going to happen in the next hours, the main focus now for all of us should be how to stop this attack. It's not Ukraine that is adding to the risk of the situation. Russia is the only country that is solely responsible for what is going on. They have attacked us. They have put our civilians at risk right now, and we're doing everything possible to save every life in Ukraine, but also we're doing everything possible to defend our country. So again, as we have the right of self-defense, our chief commander also gave an order to do the maximum possible damage to the enemy as they are on our territory attacking us.
Can you give us an update? Is there a refugee situation right now, and are there estimates, are there numbers of how bad it may possibly be?
Well, of course, we know that we're trying to help all the people, especially in the areas where the largest combat is. So we're trying to assist the evacuation, especially for children and women, for the civilians. relocating them inside the country and helping in any way possible. And all the Ukrainian services that are activated also by the introduction of the marshal or are working day and night to assist all of them. But, you know, the main goal right now is to defend the country. The main goal is to stop the aggression. And while we are doing it, we're also trying to defend every man and woman and child in Ukraine.
Madam Ambassador, Jonathan Landon, Reuters, are you receiving real-time assistance from the United States and other NATO members in the form of intelligence, satellite overhead, battlefield maneuver advice, that kind of thing?
Well, you know, in these times, let me not disclose the details, which we don't want our enemy to know. But I want to say that we're in very close cooperation, and we're working with the United States, but all of our strategic friends and allies.
Ambassador, could you respond to the baseless assertion from the Russian Federation that it's undergoing a denazification of the government in Kyiv?
This is absurd. In 2014, Ukraine has chosen a path again to democracy, and we, with the revolution of dignity, we said no to Mr. Yanukovych and his cronies, and we said no to his decision to actually stop our move into the European Union. And we said yes to our European future. So since 2014, Ukraine has been not only reforming itself, but preserving and developing a democracy in Ukraine. We are a country that now have our 6th president, and it's all during the same time that Russia has 1 president. So we are a democratic country. All of our friends and allies can attest that Ukraine is a very accepting community, that actually after the freedoms disappeared in Russia, all of the people, many of the people actually, you know, starting from Radio Free Europe and others, found their home in Ukraine, and especially when they were first forced out from Russia and then forced out from Belarus. So I not only reject those claims, they are completely false. And I know that many people of different nationalities call Ukraine their home. And moreover, many people of different nationalities defend their home in Ukraine right now.
Madam Ambassador, what assurances have you gotten from the U.S. and other allies that military aid will continue? And is that aid complicated by the full-scale invasion?
Of course, it's more difficult than it was before, but it's possible. And that's why we call on all of our friends and allies not only to continue providing us with the military support, defensive support, but also increase it. We need it to defend our country.
Ambassador, how do you expect this to end?
With our victory.
How do you expect this to end? What's going to happen in Ukraine?
It will end with Ukraine winning this, because we are in our home. We are defending our home. We never attacked anyone. Ukraine is a very peaceful country. Even though Russia attacked us in 2014, even though Russia illegally annexed and occupied Crimea and also occupied some parts of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, which she occupied them in 2014, and she recently recognized them as the so-called republics. Even though we have all the legal rights to our Crimea and our Donetsk and Lugansk, we never attempted and never had, never started and never intended to return them by military means. And we never planned any advances, military advances there. We always focused only on the diplomatic and political diplomatic solutions. That's why we were so set on making all of the formats, whether we like them or not, but Normandy, Minsk Accords, and all others, we worked day and night in order to find a diplomatic solution. And I would like to remind you that last year, Ukraine has started a Crimean platform, which the inaugural meeting of that Crimea platform was convened when Ukraine celebrated our 30th anniversary of independence in Kyiv. and 46 countries actually joined the Crimea platform. And that was a venue and plan how we were going, again, through only peaceful diplomatic measures to restore the territorial integrity of Ukraine. So just to answer this, we were peaceful. We never attacked anyone. It's Russia that attacked us totally unprovoked, and it's a gross violation of international law. Thank you.
Where is President Zelensky? Is he still in Ukraine?
Of course, our president is in Ukraine, and he leads our nation as we now defend our home. I will not answer this question, but of course he is in Ukraine.
There are estimates, Madam Ambassador, that the capital could fall between 48 and 72 hours after a full-scale Russian invasion. Are you confident the capital can hold?
Well, I am positive that we will be able to defend our country if all of our friends and allies will act together with us now. Act on sanctions, act on additional support, and act on all of the assistance that our friends and allies can provide us with. We will defend our country, and we will resist.
Madam Ambassador, do you think if the U.S. had imposed stronger sanctions earlier, it could have deterred Putin?
Well, we are where we are, right? So let's focus on the sanctions that the United States and other countries will impose right now. This is what matters. I think, the message we all together and the acts, the actual deeds that we all together will do now is what matters.
You mentioned the two Russian helicopters that had been shot down. You mentioned the platoon that has reportedly surrendered. Can you give us an idea of whether or the level of casualties on the Ukrainian side?
Yes, we have. Let me see what I have. The up-to-date information. Maybe my general has. My information is not really up to date here. I know that as of this morning, we had 40 Ukrainian servicemen and dozens of civilians killed. And we had several dozens of Ukrainians also wounded. But again, I do not have the up-to-date information right now. But, all I can say that we will defend our country and we are not scared.
But also 7 aircraft.
Yes. Oh, and 2 helicopters and 7 aircraft. That's the casualties right now on the Russian side. And several trucks, from what I remember. Yes.
President Biden is expected to address the nation soon. Is there anything specific you want to hear from him for you, for the Ukrainian people in this moment?
Well, we have heard already, right after the attack started, a very strong message from President Biden. He reacted right away. So right now we are working together and we are looking forward to the statements of the actions that we will all take together in sanctions, in additional support, and in everything else. So we look forward to the statement. And again, we would like to ask all of our friends and allies right now to act together with Ukraine and to help us to defend ourselves. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would be happy to see you again or send you more information as situation evolves. Please pray for Ukraine. We all pray for Ukraine, but we also demand justice for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you clarify the 2 helicopters and 7 aircraft? Those are, did you say they were Russian?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gestione degli acquisti online aziendali? Ci pensa Soldo. Con carte virtuali valide solo per quell'acquisto? Ci pensa Soldo, la piattaforma digitale che gestisce automaticamente i pagamenti e le spese aziendali. Tutto più semplice e sotto controllo. Scopri i vantaggi su soldo.com.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's overwhelming evidence that Russian state actors have been involved in trying to disrupt and destabilize Western democracies using social media platforms such as Facebook. So what is the government doing to ensure that this isn't used in these events?
Mr. Speaker, as I said, I think in an answer a couple of days ago, we've got no evidence of disruption of UK elections or electoral events as a result of Russian activity. But the Online Harms Bill is there to provide such protections.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank my right honourable friend for his statement, and indeed thank the Leader of Her Majesty's Opposition for his supportive and moving words. But can I also reinforce the point made by my honourable friend for Huntingdon? Why has it come to this pass? How has the West in general, and the United Kingdom in particular, been so asleep at the switch for such a long period of time? And I commend the Defence and Security Review, but isn't it now time to ask what the permanent and impartial machinery of our government does, failing to provide ministers with consistent advice about the strategic threats that our country faces?
Mr. Speaker, I think there are all sorts of reasons for the failure of the West to take sufficient account of the threat of Vladimir Putin since 2014, but the two biggest are oil and gas.
Dick Smith. Mr. Speaker, with cyber attacks and falsehoods, Russia is peddling lies today. Now, observers on the ground are crucial to relay the truth. Now, in recent weeks, the UK has withdrawn its team from the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission because staff safety is key. But can the Prime Minister look again to support international efforts like this to get to the facts and counter Russian disinformation?
I thank the MMR teams. They're wonderful. I've met them, and they do a fantastic job. I'm sorry that they've had to be withdrawn for the duty of care reasons that he rightly alludes to, and we will keep it under constant review.
Liam Fox.
The 1994 Budapest Memorandum saw Ukraine give up its nuclear weapons in return for a security guarantee not only signed by Britain and the United States, but by Russia. Does my right honourable friend believe that Ukraine would have been invaded had it retained its nuclear weapons? And what does it say about the value of a Russian signature on any international agreement?
Well, it's clear that President Putin sets no store by international law, whatever, and that is just one of the legal obligations that he has torn up.
Esty Black.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, we awoke this morning to images of innocent families cowering in tube stations. We know the Putin regime's propensity for repression and tyranny, particularly when it comes to minorities. Will the Prime Minister ensure that humanitarian aid is delivered not just in concert with other international partners, but also with third sector organisations?
Yes, of course. The third sector plays an invaluable role.
Red Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the Prime Minister's statement and his specifically ruling out the threat of creeping normalisation, because this House should be under no doubt that Putin is well prepared. He has hundreds of billions of foreign currency reserves. He has a military that has been tested. And will the Prime Minister do everything he can to convert the current intent into frameworks that cement our intent over time, because he is betting on the fact that it won't be.
My honourable friend is absolutely right, because the plan that the G7 have agreed on, and our friends and partners have agreed on, is that Putin must fail. Putin must not succeed in this venture. But we've got to put in place all the steps we need to take, diplomatically, economically, and yes, militarily, in order to ensure that that is the case. And that's what we're doing.
Very good.
The Prime Minister is right to have set out the most stringent possible set of sanctions against the government of Russia. Can he outline for the House what the implications will also be for cooperation at the International Space Station?
I thank him. I thank him very much. We will have to see what further downstream effects there are on collaboration of all kinds. I must say that hitherto I have been broadly in favour of continuing artistic and scientific collaboration, but in the current circumstances, it's hard to see how even those can continue as normal.
Sir John Hayes.
Speaker, the mix of practice and principle is the test of democratic politics, exemplified at its best when this House comes together in common cause. The test of leadership is the mix of vision and will, and the Prime Minister is to be commended for his willful, clear-sighted determination. So will he now reassure the House that he's in close touch with those countries close to Ukraine, where nerves will be frayed, and that will he send them an urgent message that this House and this nation will always stand alongside and behind free nations?
He's the right honourable gentleman, as so often, is precisely right, and that's why, together with my right honourable friends, the Defence Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, we've been visiting Poland, Romania, the Balts, all those who are now feeling such deep unease at what is happening.
Alistair Carmichael.
Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the Softcom Flot tanker NS Challenger is berthed at Sullomvo in Shetland, taking on a load of crude oil for export. Softcom Flot, as the Prime Minister may know, is a company owned and operated by the Russian government. My constituents, Mr. Speaker, are asking me why they should be loading oil onto a Russian tanker while Russian troops are marching into the Ukraine. I cannot think of any good answer to give them. So can the Prime Minister tell me, will anything that he has announced today ensure that that will not happen again in the future?
Well, I can tell him, thank him very much, and I will of course immediately investigate what is happening with the Softcom Flot oil tanker. But the result of the measures that the House passed the other day is that we can now target any entity, any company that has any relation with the Russian state. So we have that power.
Tim Bolton.
Speaker, tyrants and megalomaniacs invade countries because they think they can get away with it. And the way to deal with bullies is to stand up with them. So I'm sure he will acknowledge that the way the West responds to this aggression will have repercussions not just for Russia and Ukraine, but for other bullies like China as well. And will he be mindful of the need to show support to Russia's smaller southerly neighbours, especially Georgia and Armenia, who feel particularly vulnerable at this time?
Yeah.
Yes, I thank him. He's right, because the read across, the knock on is obvious for Georgia and Armenia. What he proposes to create, Putin, is a new sphere of influence, a new Yalta, in which those countries come behind his new Iron Curtain.
Stephen Wakefield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a member of this House with Ukrainian heritage, this issue particularly troubles me. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his tone of his statement and the resolute and swift action that he's proposing in tackling Russia, but the resolute and swift support he's offering to the people of Ukraine. During his speech, he also highlighted the issues of the cost of living and the rise of fuel prices. Could he also touch on what further action the government will take in order to address that issue?
I thank him very much, and I think he's quite right, because I think people across the country will be thinking about the effect on us all of the increase in the price of oil and gas as a result of a war in Ukraine. We will continue to do everything we can to help people to abate the cost, to support people through councils, through all the funds that we're giving, the reduction in council tax, Mr. Speaker. But the best thing that we can do is ensure that people are in good, well-paying jobs, and that is in that we are certainly succeeding. But in the medium and the long term, we've got to have more self-reliance in this country on our own energy supplies, and that is what this government is also committed to building.
Jeffrey Clifton-Brown.
Mr. Speaker, one of the most important economic sanctions we can take against Russia
is by freezing its sovereign debt. Will my right honourable friend confirm that the bill proposed on Monday on economic crime will include powers to do so?
Mr. Speaker, we're taking the most powerful measures against Russia and the Russian economy that have ever been taken. I think probably the most powerful ever taken by any country. And Russia will no longer be able to raise any sovereign debt on UK markets.
Olivia Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister what support we will be providing Ukrainian citizens settled in the UK who wish to reunite with their family members still residing in Ukraine. Many have watched their cities rapidly get caught up in this conflict and are keen to know what more we could be doing to support them to reunite their families.
Mr. Speaker, we will make sure that we support Ukrainian nationals who need to leave to visit to come to this country to meet their relatives. Of course, we'll do that.
Stephen McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud the Prime Minister in this country are leading international support for our friends in Ukraine. Domestically, will the Prime Minister be providing more support for organisations such as our NHS, public sector organisations and businesses that will now be the subject of Russian cyber attacks?
He's right to point to this risk, Mr. Speaker, and I think it's foresighted. We're investing massively in cyber protection. I think another £2.6 billion we're putting in. I think in the last few years we've tackled more than 3,000 cyber attacks. It is a risk. It's a risk that I'm afraid we must run in the cause of freedom.
Matt Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to offer my wholehearted support for much tougher sanctions against President Putin and his dreadful regime. Mr. Speaker, as the honourable gentleman from Lockerbie mentioned earlier, there are many historic Ukrainian communities in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and indeed I would like to commend the work of the Reading Ukrainian Centre. I would like to ask the Prime Minister what additional support can the government give to these very valuable community groups and centres around the country who offer such support to families, friends, relatives, both in the UK and in the Ukraine.
I think, Mr. Speaker, perhaps the most important thing we can do for the Ukrainian community in this country is thank them, recognise them for everything that they've done for us in the last decades. They've been an amazing addition to the UK economy, to our cultural and artistic life.
John Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House is united in its condemnation, but I suggest to the Prime Minister that the lessons to be addressed from this affair started with the invasion of Georgia, Russia's invasion of Georgia in 2008 and not 2014. And given, many of us across the House have been warning about Russia, and yet the response has been weak. Does the Prime Minister accept that as we enter the battle for democracy globally, we have got to understand that the sooner you square up to the playground bully, the better, and that we adequately support our hard and soft power to do that?
Yes.
Yes, he is quite right, and I know that by soft power he's thinking of the British Council, which can have such a wonderful beneficial effect across Russia, and I've seen its work across Russia. But Mr. Speaker, he's right about standing up to the playground bully. We should have done it ages ago. I think the scales have fallen from the eyes of many of our friends and partners.
Dr. Philippa Whitford.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. In an earlier response, the Prime Minister suggested that this country would welcome people who were reuniting with family here. I have a constituent who's Ukrainian, but a British citizen who's trying to bring her mother from Ukraine, but being turned down because she is over 18. Her mother is on her own, has no family, so naturally she's frightened. So will we see a change in the Home Office to enable British citizens who are Ukrainian to bring their vulnerable family here?
Yes, I thank her very much. I think I read out a helpline number in the House on Tuesday. I don't have it again. There is a number both in Lviv and in this country. But if she could do me the favour and send me the details, well, I'll take them up.
Richard Drax.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I commend my honourable friend and his ministers for the firm stance they're taking?
None of us know where or what Mr. Putin's aims, longer-term aims, are. If Ukraine falls, and I fear it might, his covetous eye might land on the Baltic states and other vulnerable countries. Can my right honourable friend reassure NATO members that if one Russian boot lands on NATO soil, military force will be met by military force?
Yes, and what is so encouraging, Mr. Speaker, is that the whole House understands the vital importance of that Article 5 guarantee that we make to every one of the 30 members of NATO.
Tony Lloyd. Sir Tony.
The Prime Minister quite rightly pits this as being a battle between the party of war and those who support international law. There is only one lawful government in Ukraine. That's the government of President Zelensky. If they are forced to move, forced possibly into exile in the short run or the longer run, will the Prime Minister state very clearly that we will make sure they can be a functional and effective government wherever they operate from?
It's a very important point that he raises. I'm grateful, and that's why in our discussions with President Zelensky, we are seeing what we can do to give them the practical support that they need to continue.
Robert Jenny.
The City of London is a global asset whose enduring success doesn't rest on dirty money. It rests on a commitment to excellence and on the adherence with the rule of law. So it's right that we now use that as a way to show global leadership. Can I encourage my right honourable friend to sanction all of the remaining Russian banks, to sanction the executives associated with them, and I notice that many are resigning today, to publish a further list of individuals, resident in this country or otherwise, to be sanctioned, and to redouble his excellent efforts to suspend Russia from SWIFT as the single most effective immediate step that the West could do to put pressure on Vladimir Putin.
I thank him very much. I thank him particularly for his important testimonial to the City of London, whose work should not be sullied, Mr. Speaker, by association with ill-gotten Russian money. But the programme that he set out for sanctions is exactly the right one, and the one the government is following.
Mike Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Will the Prime Minister reiterate that our quarrel is not with the Russian people? It is with their leader, Vladimir Putin, and he has committed a very, very grave error.
He is so right, and I know that that is what the House thinks. We admire the Russian people. Our links to the Russian people go back to the time when we stood shoulder to shoulder to fight fascism with the Russian people. Russia's contribution to culture, to arts, literature, to music, unparalleled. It is an extraordinary country, and nothing that we do or say should obscure that.
Trebadley.
Winston Churchill created the Council of Europe as a bastion against fascism and communism. And since the fall of communism, Russia has set great importance by its membership as a fig leaf of respectability. Every time our Conservative group has tried to get them expelled, we've been foiled by Russian gold. Will the Prime Minister now instruct his ambassador on the Council of Europe to move for the immediate expulsion of Russia from the Council of Europe, so there is no place for gangsters in the halls of civilized nations?
Yes, I think eloquently put, Mr. Speaker, and he's dead right. And I think that my honourable friend for Henley made the point the other day, and I certainly, who's on the Council of Europe, I certainly agree with that.
Geraint Davis.
Mr. Speaker, so many Russians today see the attack on Ukraine as they would see an attack of their father on their mother, because there's such intimate family relationships between these two groups. And today, thousands of Russians are protesting in cities against their domestic law, against this awful war. Will he provide them with his support? Will he amplify their support to help reduce the support, any support there is for this ridiculous war, and also provide sanction and safe haven for people, refugees, including troops who may want to re-engage, the troops outside of Ukraine, so they can re-engage, so we can win this war at home and abroad?
He makes a series of extremely important observations, and yes, I think it's vital that we get the message across to the whole of Russia about what is really going on. They're being lied to day after day, and I think that his point about supporting troops who need temporary exile, as it were, is a very good one.
Peter Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for yet again coming to House to keep us informed and for his leadership in this crisis. He was right to provide military aid to Ukraine, but the Ukrainian ambassador did ask for our support in a no-fly zone today. In his answer earlier, I think the Prime Minister was keeping that option open. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear to the House, Mr. Speaker, that we're trying to keep all our options open on this front. Some of them, frankly, may be more practicable than others, and I think we must also have a dose of realism about what we can do on the military front. But we will keep all things under review.
Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many of the residents in my constituency come from a number of the countries on the eastern flank and still have relatives living there. Obviously, like us, they'll be deeply concerned about the humanitarian impact of the crisis. So, what steps is the government taking to prepare for the humanitarian issues? And with the 1,000 troops on standby to help with humanitarian assistance, will they now be deployed?
I think she raises a very important point, and what we're seeing now, tragically, is people moving west out of Kyiv, columns of traffic, as I'm sure the House knows. We are people already moving into southeastern Poland. There is going to be an influx, as I said to the President of Poland, Prime Minister of Poland as well. We're there to help.
Laura Trott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Prime Minister for his statement today and for his strong package of sanctions. I want to ask him about preventing sexual violence in conflict. In November last year, we issued a strong statement which said that the use of sexual violence as a weapon in conflict is a red line akin to the use of chemical weapons. Will he reaffirm that commitment today? And will he send a strong message to Russia that the international community will not tolerate the use of sexual violence in conflict?
Yes, and I thank her for all the work that she's done on that issue. It's something that the UK government has campaigned on for a long time, and indeed raised the issue very greatly in public international consciousness. I think it should be treated as a war crime like any other, and people who perpetrate sexual violence in conflict can expect to be tried in those tribunals.
John Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In seeking to redraw the boundaries of Europe through bloodshed, Putin has attacked not only the Ukraine, but all of us. And we stand with the Ukraine and standing for the rule of law. I welcome the sanctions that he's announced, but I was confused by his response on Russian disinformation, which he seemed to imply would be addressed by the online safety bill. That is many, many, many months away. Russian disinformation is organized. Their bots are state-sponsored. What steps will he take to address them?
I thank her. We've got and she raised a good point, but we've got, what we're doing is a massive, positive Stratcoms campaign in Russian, in Ukrainian, to make sure that people get the truth and they hear the truth.
Adam Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we've noticed this afternoon, virtually everyone in this House has supported the efforts towards resistance over the last few months and in these days. I imagine the House will also support a very different sort of warfare under occupation over the coming months and possibly years. But the House will also have noticed the marvellous way the Prime Minister has spoken directly to the Russian people today. And I hope that he will bear in mind that at the moment, public opinion in Russia is rather different. That does underline the importance of accurate information.
Prime Minister.
Yes. He is quite right, and I thank him. He's a distinguished former soldier, and he knows that truth is the first casualty. We have to make sure that we are telling people exactly what is going on, and to the best of my knowledge at the moment, the Ukrainians are resisting much more strongly than some people had thought that they would. Who knows how long they can keep going. Let's hope they can, and let's encourage them to do so. But, Mr. Speaker, let's get the message out as well. I think that is our job.
Chris Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister is absolutely right. We equivocated shamelessly after Crimea. We were spineless. We must not be spineless now, because what will inevitably happen is either the Baltic states, one of the members of NATO, or perhaps Sweden or Finland will feel the wrath of Putin next. And that will mean British action. Don't we need to try and set in train now a process whereby Putin himself ends up in the dock in a court? Norman Burkitt said, who was the alternate British judge at Nuremberg, said at Nuremberg, initiating a war of aggression is not only an international crime, it is the supreme international crime, differing only from other war crimes in that it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole. He must be brought to a court of law and end his days in prison, mustn't he?
Mr. Speaker, I think one of the most fascinating things about what Putin is doing is how close an analogy there is between his actions and those of Slobodan Milosevic. Exactly the same nonsense being peddled about the mystical union between Kosovo and Belgrade as between Kiev and Moscow. Exactly the same aggression. And remember that Slobodan Milosevic died on trial.
Sorry. Mark Harper.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the package of sanctions set out by the Prime Minister and the fact that he's confirmed more will come. If they are to be successful at punishing President Putin for what he has done to date and deterring him from going further and attacking our NATO partners, they must be sustained. And if they're to be sustained, we must be honest with the British people that there is going to be a cost for them. We are going to have to pay an economic cost, but it's a cost we must pay, and it pales into insignificance compared to the cost of the people of Ukraine.
Yes, and not only is that true, Mr. Speaker, but the opportunity and the reward for success and being strong is huge. Because if this should end, Mr. Speaker, with the rejection of aggression and the rejection of the Putin regime's view of the world, then that would be a massive, massive benefit, and an economic benefit as well to the whole world.
Chamberlain.
Mr. Speaker, up until May 2021, Valentina Yakovleva was my constituent. She resided in Scotland for 20 years with her daughter and her family. But due to an initial error in an application, she eventually exhausted appeals and was deported with 2 COVID jags last year. Now that 71-year-old is sheltering in a subway. In response to the Honourable Member for Central Ayrshire, who's no longer in her place, I would reiterate, does the Prime Minister agree with me that as we face a likely refugee crisis, the UK must be doing all it can to extract individuals who have immediate family relatives in the UK, and urge for support for this case?
Yes. Again, I thank her very much for drawing the case to my attention. If she sends me the details, I'll be happy to make sure it's properly taken up by the Home Office.
Can I just say, those who didn't get in, we have got a list for next time, because this will definitely not be the end. Okay, let people leave before I come to you, Chairman.